Welcome to Mordor, land of brushes and paint. Yes, now you're going to learn.
Welcome, Reaper fans. Today we have a Skeletal Dragon. This is a phenomenal miniature. I absolutely love the skeleton and undead miniatures. This is another simple paint. So what we're going to do with this one is we're going to make the base look really nice on this one because it's such a simple paint. So what we're going to do, we haven't glued the miniature to the base. So put the miniature over there. I have a 200 by 100mm MDF base. I'm going to glue the base onto there, and what we'll do is I will come back and show you what I'm going to do next. But let me just explain a few things. With the skeleton, this is going to just be totally from top to bottom. This will be covered with a skeleton bone. It will be given an ink wash and it will just be highlighted with a couple of bleached bones and white, and that's all you need for that one. It is so simple, but we'll go through that later. For the base, I might well, I'm going to add some more rocks to the base, and we'll make the base look really nice because it's such a simple paint for the actual skeleton. You need to work on the base more to really make the miniature stand out that much more because it's such a basic paint. But let's get cracking. So for the base we have got some fine gravel. This is from a Games Workshop brand, and we've got some medium pebbles from the beach. I'm going to use some PVA glue to put onto the base. Very simple. Once the PVA glue is on, we're going to add some of the rubble, the larger pieces of pebbles. This will go up to the sides and will take away the lip of the miniature. And once that's glued on, we'll put on the smaller gravel, and this will give a nice blend into the miniature, and we can work on from there. So what I'll do is I will get all this stuck on, and we will go from there. It's very simple, just pushing the PVA glue up to the edges of the mini. I show this on all my miniatures, and I was going to skip most of the tutorial on the gluing, but many of you have said to me that this is what you like the most, is how do I do my bases. So I thought it was important to carry on showing you how I get my bases done, and very simple. Just using an old ink brush for the glue, which will be washed with water. PVA glue, you don't need any special anything special to wash it off with. Water's perfect. So we're just going around the mini with our glue. Remember, if you're doing this in your house, you probably want to be doing it on a table with paper on if you're in the living room or the kitchen or wherever you do your miniatures. I'm in my workshop, so I can get away with being a messy little piggy, but if you're in your mum's house, remember, put stuff down on the table or you won't be able to do your miniatures again. Keep the family happy. There we are, quick and easy. Base is all glued up. Now all we do is we add our pebbles. What I'm doing is adding the larger pebbles around the side on the lip of the miniature. Let's push them in. This will give us a nice stepping stone effect to the miniature, and takes away the lip of the miniature too. And like I say before, it'll help blend everything in nicely. So we're just going around the edges with your larger pebbles, like so. Simple as that. You don't need much. Now we go on to the lighter gravel. This is the Citadel one. Citadel, should I say? From Games Workshop. And we just sprinkle that on to the rest of the miniature base. What I'll do is I shall let this dry, and then I shall tap off the excess because of the larger chunks on the miniature. We don't want to shake off the excess yet because the larger pieces of stone will probably come away because of the weight. So just leave that dry as it is, and then later on take away the excess stones and put them back into your tub. So I will come back once this is all dry and we can go on to our next stage. While my base is drying, I shall do my primer coat for my Skeletal Dragon. Now I am going to go with Army Painter Skeleton Bone because it's a darker skeleton bone than my MSP from Reaper Miniatures, and it will make a fantastic primer coat for this dragon. I will come back once I've coated the whole thing and my base is dry and we can carry on, but skeleton bone is my choice for today. Well, everything's coming along really nicely now. I've started putting on the skeleton bone onto my Skeletal Dragon. Now I've painted one half. I'm going to wait for that to dry and then I'll add the other half to the tail. And what I'll be doing is I shall be doing 2 coats with the skeletal bone to make sure it's an even coverage. Now the base has dried and it's very nice. What I've got here is a cheap paint from Craft World. It's your acrylic paint, it's in grey and it costs about £2 for a big tub like this. This is what I use for my scenery, as it works out very expensive if you keep on using your MSP or Army Painter paints. So using this acrylic paint does the trick. It can be used straight from the bottle. You can add water, but I do find this goes on very nicely straight from the squirty tub, should I say. So we're going to just add this to the actual miniature. As it's a primer coat, I want it on quite thickly, and when I get to the gravel part I will add water to the mix so it goes in, because what happens, the gravel will soak in the paint, so you need that water base to help the paint flow and have more coverage. So I'm just flying through this, very simple. Again, I'm using just an old brush from the pound shop. Does the job perfectly well for what I need here. Painting miniatures isn't all about spending as much money as you can on paintbrushes. If you can get the job done cheaply and still keep the quality of your work, then you're doing the right thing. Yes, it's always lovely to have that fantastic expensive paints expensive paintbrush set. I had a fantastic paintbrush set brought for me by one of my patrons, and it's an expensive set compared to what I'm used to using, which is my army painter paintbrushes. I still haven't used the paintbrushes because they're expensive paintbrushes, and I am actually scared to use them because I don't want to mess them up. Because they come in a lavish box. Where are they? They come in a lavish box and everything. I got them here somewhere.
Hello, I took over now. I'm gonna teach you pencils. Yes, evil paint. Uh-oh, he's back. Run away! I did my phone.
Yeah, I found the box. I mean, look at this. Look at this. I mean, come on, that is beautiful stuff. How gorgeous is that paintbrush set? I mean, it's not that I don't want to use them. I want to use them, but look how beautiful it is. This goes in your display cabinet. It's gorgeous. Gorgeous. Oh my god. It's mine. Okay, so our base is now covered in our grey primer. Once this is dry, we shall be going over the whole base with our nun oil for the shading and black effect. This will be a fantastic oil to use and will bring out tons of shades. And this will be once this is dry, so I will come back once I've added the black ink wash to the base, and I should have done my second coat on my dragon too. So see you soon. Okay, our black ink wash has dried nicely on the base. So next for this one, we are going to use some Terminatus stone from Games Workshop, and we are going to dry brush the whole base to give a lovely stone effect to the base. The dragon I have finished with my 2 coats of skeleton bone, and now I am going to cover the whole dragon with Agrax Earthshade from top to bottom, and I will do that and let that one dry. But what we'll do now is we'll move back to the base, and I'll get that one all painted up, and we'll go through that process together. Okie dokie then, we're going to go straight with the Terminator stone, and we're going to start dry brushing our bit of base. I've already done the skeleton. I've given it a complete coat of Agrax Earthshade, so that's drying in the corner there, and we're just quickly going over all the edges on our base. Very simple, and it looks superb once it's done. Just quickly going over the miniature with the dry brush paint. Again, very simple to use. Put your paint on your paintbrush, take the paint off on a tissue, and just go over your miniature with the brush, which leaves the pigments on all the highest areas, leaving all the shadows to come through. And there we are, simple as that. It's the first session. Now what I'm doing is I want to add some skulls to this base. As it's a skeletal dragon, I thought some skulls on the base would look good for this miniature. I'm going to use some green on the base as well. So now I want to add some skulls to the base, and I have lots of different skulls from different companies, but I'm going to use the Citadel skulls for this one. This box contains about 340 skulls. You can pick up this box for about £12, £10 to £12, depending on where you buy it, from eBay or directly from the shops or on Amazon. Now these skulls come on sprues, which I paint on the sprues like so, and I just get them ready so I can just clip them off and stick them to my base wherever I like. You get all sorts of different skulls, big skulls, little skulls, demon skulls, and they look fantastic on your bases. Highly recommended. So all I do with these skulls is I get my snips and I snip one off whenever I want one. So I'm going to use about 10 skulls on this base. So I'm going to take 10 skulls from here and stick it onto my base. Ooh, now we come to the fun part. We're going to quickly highlight our dragon. The dragon has already got an ink wash of Agrak Surfshade, and it already looks like bone. It looks very nice as it is. But I am going one step further. I am going to highlight the dragon with some skeleton bone from MSP and some graveyard bone from MSP. We got the two lighter colours here. Now it's just a case of dry brushing. I am going straight into the darker of the two first, which is the graveyard bone. I am taking the paint off and I am going over the highest edges. Very fast, very simple. This just gives a little bit of extra to the areas needed for light source. Let's do it. Let me get a position so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. There we are. We're just going over all the highest areas. Yeah, nice. What you want to do is leave the darkness in the recesses, and that gives you that lovely dirty bone effect, and the white from the bleached bone and the skeleton bone and the graveyard bone. This will give you the effect of bone that's been out weathered in the sun, in the air, and a more natural look. The type of look where your dog has had a bone for about a month or two and it's starting to look very, very white. I'm just going to add a little bit of my lighter skeleton bone to the mix, and we'll just go again over the rib cage. That's easier for me to hold it like this to show you. So we're going along the main bones here, the big ones. I don't know the names of all the bones in the body, so I'm just going for the big bone. This is the little bone, the funny bone. And over the dragon's head. Now what I'm going to do for the claws and the teeth, I will be probably painting these black. Black always works really well with skeleton dragons. There we are, that's nice. So let me show you. These will be painted black. Teeth will be black, and the claws here will be black. Keep on going. It's a very simple paint, this one. I mean, all we've done from the beginning is we have primed the skeleton with skeleton bone. We have gone over the skeleton with our Agrax Earthshade. We've let that dry, and now all we're doing is highlighting with a little bit of dry brushing, just bringing out the edges of the bones, giving it a much more worn look, and that to me works very well. Don't need a lot. It's just to bring out a bit more of the worn bone effect. I'm very happy with that. I will go into it lighter, just for the tips again, just on your tips of the bones, on the top tips of these here, the spines. You don't need a lot. It's just to bring out the edges of the bone, so the tops of the joints of each bone. That's what you're looking for, like on the cheekbones. There you go, around the nose, just at the bottom of the jaw there. Just certain areas. You don't do it everywhere, just where you think it's needed. Normally all the highest raised areas put your lightest coat onto the dragon. And as you can see, it's taking me a couple of minutes, and that is about done. That's all you need to make a beautiful bone effect on your dragon. Okay, what I'll do is I will paint the claws black and the teeth, but honestly there's not much more I want to do with that. I think that is a lovely looking dragon. I will do the claws black and the teeth black, but to me that's enough. Simple. See how easy that was? You guys can do this, believe me, you guys can do this. Just try it, it's easy. Now on to the last stage. I am going to finish off the base. Now I've got some dungeon slime and some meadow green by MSP. Now I like necromancers. I was thinking of going for a darker green for the rocks, and then maybe highlighting with the dungeon slime to almost give a ambience, a feel of the necromancer maybe raising the dead. So I'm going to try and give this a go and see how this works. It might not work, but I want to give the moss effects like I normally do around the bottom of the base, just around the edges like so, just going around the bottom parts of the miniature, and just moving on a little bit to the floor. Nice. Now my idea is to use the lighter green for a more, I don't know, magical effect. Hopefully this will work. Experimentation is the key to all your it's the key to everything. If you don't experiment, you'll never learn new techniques or new things. Now my idea is to just go over with the lighter on the tops of the rocks to give a nice effect, a more glowy effect on the tops. Get rid of that hair, go over the skulls tops of the skulls. It's just to, I don't know, give a... It's undead. We're in the undead realm here. It needs to have a brightness, a glowy, undead feel. And I think just highlighting with a stronger, brighter green gives that eerie presence of fear, darkness, even death. Yes, that's nice. Yes. So this is the Dungeon Slime by MSP. Absolutely fantastic green, beautiful colour. So like I said, I'm not gonna do too much. I'm not gonna go overboard, but it just adds a little bit of goodness to the base. And you can add this green to all your bases that you've got your undead miniatures on, and you'll get that green glow coming from the base. And so if your regiments are all the same and you're using the same base paint, then it'll all match in perfectly well. And that's what you want for each army you build. You want a set colour scheme on your build. And I think the bright, luminous type green works quite well. So just a tiny bit more here and there. And I am calling that... done. That's enough. All I'm going to do now is add a tiny bit of flocking. I'll put the dragon onto the base. I will come back and show you the finished miniature. And we'll call that a day. Well, here we are. This is my finished mini. It's all done, the Skeletal Dragon. I've added some flock to the base, and you've got the skeleton heads, and I've painted the claws black, and I'm very happy with this. There we are. Ready for some photographs now. Hope you enjoyed this build and paint of the Skeletal Dragon. Remember, if you enjoy my work, please think about supporting me on Patreon. I do not wish to add any adverts to this site. It's just for painting my Reaper miniatures, which will be every Wednesday. Will be a new Reaper miniatures paint, and for patrons you get to see the video a week early. Next week's paint will be the Black Sting Wyvern from Reaper Miniatures. This is from the Bones 4 Kickstarter. Absolutely beautiful miniature. So next Wednesday, this will be painted for your viewing pleasure. Another grand scale mini from Reaper Miniatures. So, until next time.
Goodbye, my fellow ones. Sleep well. Dream of evil paintbrushes.